that do for the group internally? I mean, clearly it does a lot externally how we judge you, but what does it do internally to come and get a job done like that?
Well, I think it builds confidence. I think the narrative last year, we couldn't win away, and we probably rectified that a little bit towards the back end of last year, but have two pretty good wins, against, West Coast, who granted learning a new system. I apologise for my voice, I've had a bit of a cold, so. And then also Melbourne, who were really under the pump this week, and, for our guys to not respond, but to set the tone, I thought was really, really important. And they'll gain confidence from that. We sort of have got this inner belief of what we can do and how far that can take us, but it's always good to put performances on the board that sort of, validate that.
Does it take on greater significance doing it here?
Oh, it's always great to play at the G. No question, we'd love more games, obviously, like most interstate clubs do, but we understand that. But sorry, I apologise. But the situation for us is we've just got to win wherever we play. Like, there's no question about that. We just want to give ourselves a chance, and if we play that style of footy, based off contest and defence, we give ourselves every chance.
Do you think wins like this can earn you more games at the home football?
Yeah, well, you'd hope so. Or, that's obviously for other people to decide. We'll just play our part and play as hard as we can, as tough as we can, and look to get some scoreboard damage along the way. I thought we were really solid. The game itself in the first half, there's a couple of things that they were doing that did trouble us. We made some adjustments at half time and got a better result from there. So I thought our leaders really, really stood up, took charge and understood the adjustments we were going to make, and more importantly, carried them out on the field.
And your runners seem to relish the open experiences.
Yeah, well, we're a great running side. Alex Rigby, our head of performance, does a wonderful job with them on the off-season, but it's all good for us to sit there and spoon feed them. Noah and his team, they drive very, very high standards with regard to their off-field preparation. So, the players really take that on board. We've got a great environment up in the Gold Coast. Players don't like to go away. They like to stay and train hard. And, it's one of the things that draws people to our footy club as well. So we're really proud of the way the guys prepare, but more importantly, the way they perform.
Peculiar start to the season. You had 2 buys in the first 3 weeks technically, and then another break into this week. How did the group manoeuvre through kind of
Yeah. I think they dealt with it really well. You can sort of sit there and get caught up in it, but they knew what they had to do. We just treated it effectively like bye weeks, so we ran with the same preparation. Sometimes I think what you can do is you can overtrain, if that makes sense, and try and force sessions, but we just gave them time off and ran into our usual post-buy preparation, which has held us in good stead. So, once again, I'll keep harping on it, but the leaders really set the standard with regard to that. They've got a good understanding of what needs to be done and how we need to do it, and, they get their benefits of that.
Matt Rowell's had a great start to the season. What do you do over summer? What's he done?
Great's very short, I reckon, with how well he's gone. He's been incredible. He's doing a lot of work, with his game, with Sean Grigg, his coach, but also off the field with some people to help him get better as well, which is really important. And, you look at this guy and what he means to our footy club. Our fans love him, our coaches love him. He's just an incredible player. We're very, very fortunate to have him. We understand how important he is to us. We've got to make sure we hold up our end of the bargain. We've got to win games of footy. He's a winner. That's what he wants to be a part of. So we've got some work to do in this space. We know that. We'll back ourselves in, but he's had an incredible start to the season. He's a wonderful player. I'm very, very fortunate to have him. He's great to coach as well.
Has he improved his burst and endurance and getting out of stoppages? It seems to be even more powerful.
Yeah, I think so, but I think what he's a real student of the game. Like, he understands, he listens, and he always wants to grow. So we're very privileged to have those sort of players within our environment that take it on board and understand what the game looks and feels like. And he's really taken that to a new level. So, as I said, his coaches in Sean Grigg and Brad Miller and Josh Drummond have done a lot of work with him, as well as our development coaches, to get him to understand what that looks like. And, the fact of the matter is, he's a very, very, very good player.
Dimma, can you tell us a bit more about the tap-tap thing? You sort of alluded to it pre-game. We saw the black T-shirts and Pistons in round 1. Tell us,
it's not so much the tap-tap, but it's about every great side has an identity. You can't survive in a league at the highest level and not have an identity. We want our players to figure out what that identity piece is. When people come to sit there and watch us play, whether it's family, friends or opposition supporters, what are they going to see? And that's something that we felt is something we needed to grab a little bit more and drive. So, you know, the theming and all that sort of stuff is a little bit a part of it. It's a 20%, but the 80% is in the actions about what we do. Our core actions of how we play is really important, and the players are starting to get an understanding of that. Because I can sit there, as our coaching staff can, is we can sit there and beat around and talk about it a lot, but the fact of the matter is they've got to go out and play, and that's the way they're going at the moment.
Is there an identity that you sorry.
I'll go you. Yep.
Damien, from a coaching perspective, you must have been really delighted, particularly in the second half after half time, to really make the move in the game, to pull the trigger, because the first half very scrappy, wasted some opportunities, but then in that third term you really lifted the intensity in the match and then put those 7 goals on, and that really was the difference in the contest.
Yeah, and I think both sides have opportunities where we could have scored. Like, I've never seen Kiki kick it directly to a guy in the goal square when he's 8 metres out, but those things happen, and the scrappiness of the game was quite gusty out there, but I was really pleased, and I'm going to give a guy a rap as an individual. We've talked about Matt Rowell, but I thought Jared Witts was absolutely enormous. I thought he had a real challenge with Max Gawn, who obviously was a little bit disappointing with his game last week and got challenged through media, but for our guy to come out and respond the way he did was really, really important.
Also, the ability of Touk Miller to be able to go forward, kick those 3 goals, that was really important, because he's not really known for going forward and doing that as a part of his game.
It's funny you say that. I was just trying to find him before, because I thought his 3 goals came at really crucial times as well, really important times where we just needed a goal. We had dominance, but we couldn't score, and we spoke about before the game, this is his sort of ground, his ability to run. Like, I think he had 500 metres of high speed, which is just off the charts. He's another guy that I think from outside looking in, we sort of knew the sort of player he was. This guy is unbelievable when you get to coach him, the things that he can do, the way he brings his teammates into the game. He's another player we're very fortunate to have.
Just on your away form, it's 4 wins now, dating back to August. Like, how have you done it? How have you turned it around? Because for so long the narrative was that you couldn't win on the road. How have you turned it around?
Look, I was going to say, it's relatively simple, and something I've spoken before. It's players taking ownership and understanding, accountability and responsibility. The game doesn't change. It's an honour to play in an away venue and be the bad guy, if that makes sense. Trying to take away something that the opposition wants and craves, and just to walk in with a smile. One thing I will say is the guys have got to, and they are starting to, really look forward to the challenge of silencing the crowd. We've also got to understand that they are going to get a run on a stage, the crowd will get involved, it's okay. But we've just got to keep, pounding around at that rock and making sure we get the job done.
Just on that identity piece, is there something you're chasing? What do you want it to be, or is it something that's going to grow and evolve?
Well, that's for me to know and for you to write about. Does that make sense? Yeah. Well, people's poet, and I didn't know it as well, which is good.
On Bailey Humphrey, it's clear to see his development over the offseason. What do you see his role as going forward? Is it more midfield, more forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, he's just that powerful, mid-forward. He's so... And look, he had a wonderful pre-season last year. He's another guy that's done an incredible amount of work, both on and off the field with his own professional development, and he's starting to reap the benefits of that. I put too much pressure on him last year, no question. Didn't respond well to that, but you sort of look at his ability to get in and out of contest and impact the game. I thought he was wonderful today. Had a really good game last week as well. Where he fits, I'm not too sure. What I do know is I love the flexibility of him being up forward as a goal kicker, but then also when we put him in the middle, he's a powerhouse. He's really exciting. Our fans should be, looking forward to come and see this kid play. Will Graham's another one that we've got very fortunate with those sort of players that can play both parts of the ground.
Finally, John Noble, great game again today. You must be delighted now to have him on your team, because it's just going to be so important for you with the season going forward. Yeah,
I thought our backs did a great job. Sam Collins was incredible. I thought his ability to come forward, defend, and then for the smaller halfbacks to to get involved with the game and take the game on. There's a reason we recruited those 2 boys. We thought they'd complement the toughness that we have down back, and we're starting to see the benefit of that. They're only going to get better too, I think, which is good. Thanks, guys. I'm in the water. Good job. Thank you.